In one of my earlier videos, I talked about when I was training police dogs. And during that time, I was also volunteering as an explorer with the Sheriff's Office. Now, Explorers is a part of the Boy Scouts of America, and it's for boys and girls ages 14 to 21. There's many different types of explorers. I was, of course, a police explorer, Sheriff's Office. They also had cadets at the Portland Police Bureau and many other departments. You could also do firefighting explorers or working in the hospital or at libraries and schools and all kinds of different things. It was an opportunity for young people to be able to get a hands-on experience working alongside people who worked in the jobs that you were interested in doing. And it's still a great experience. And they still have the Boy Scouts, still has the program, the Explorer program. And you don't have to have been in the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts to be able to join the Explorers. You can join that when you turn 14 and go work at whatever department and stuff. Anyway, so I joined the Explorers after I had started training the K-9 units. And it was an amazing opportunity. I got to go through an academy and learn some of the basics of law enforcement. It wasn't a certification program, so we were not police officers. We were not sworn. We didn't carry guns, but we did learn how to handle weapons and, practice at the range and do competitions and things like that. I was very much interested in the K-9 unit, which I continued to work with. But also, I was very interested in the traffic division and pretty much the motorcycle cops. Of course, I couldn't go on ride-alongs on a motorcycle because that would have been weird. But there was one particular officer that we took a liking to each other, I guess, and he would let me ride with him. And when I wanted to go on ride-alongs or if the weather was bad, and he would be driving a patrol car. So I got to go with him, and I learned a lot about investigating accidents because he was actually the fatal accident investigator for the county. So I did go to a lot of places where people had died and got to figure out how to determine, the cause of the accident, who was at fault, how it happened, all that kind of stuff based on the debris fields and recreating the accident using skid marks and brake lights and a lot of different things. For me, I really enjoyed that, and I loved going on ride-alongs with him and learning that aspect. We also rode with regular officers and deputies, I should say, not officers, responding to, burglaries or fights or all kinds of things. I remember I had been with the Sheriff's Office for a few years. I think I was about 16 or 17 and riding with a deputy, and there was a shooting that had happened out at the Orient Tavern outside of Gresham. And we went out there. And when we got there, the ambulance crew was already there. The suspects had already left. But they were they had someone on a stretcher and we're putting him in the back of the ambulance. And I kind of glanced at him and I was like, that guy kind of looks familiar. I don't know where I've seen him before. But, we went inside. I was with my partner as he was interviewing, the witnesses and stuff and getting information. And, we left from there and went and did all these, several other calls and stuff. I can't remember how busy the day. It was kind of busy. And later, so that was the swing shift. That was one of our first calls. So it was about 4:00, maybe 4:30. And he dropped me off at home that night on, at the end of the shift. And my parents were standing in the parking lot talking to our downstairs neighbor. And I get out of the car and I'm walking over and my mom goes, "Oh my God, Jose got shot today." And I was like, that's who that was. I was like, yeah, I was there. And my mom just kind of looked at me and goes, "What?" said, yeah, my partner and I were one of the first responders on the call. It was the first time I think she realized that I was actually responding to, actual shootings and, things, dangerous situations. But by this time I'd already, like I said, been doing it for 2 or 3 years, and there's, no stopping. Like, I hadn't been in some situations, but nothing where I was in danger. And so that was an interesting night. He was fine. He got shot in the leg, and he made a full recovery from that. But it was interesting. Sometimes I would go. I remember I was riding along with a Gresham canine officer one time, part of the canine trainings, and we responded with a bunch of other people to a house party that was happening out near Mount Hood Community College. And we get out there, and there were like hundreds of people at this house. It was raging, and most of them were college students. A lot of people left once we got there, and cleaning people out. And they got it down to, 40 or so people. And they were like, all right, as long as you guys keep the noise down and, aren't disturbing the neighbors, you're fine. And I glanced through the door, and I saw some people that I recognized from school. I was still in high school. And so I said to my partner, I'm like, hey, there's a couple people in there that I recognize from my high school. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I know who these people are. So he told the other officers, and I think it was the shift sergeant or the lieutenant, said, oh, all right, we're shutting it down. So they went back in and said, everybody's got to go. And people were coming out, and these people who I went to school with saw me. And I'm sure they were like, oh my God, why is she here? Why is she with the police? That was in the 80s when 21 Jump Street, if you've never watched it, it's about a police officer who goes undercover at a high school. I'm sure a lot of the kids thought that was the case, where I was actually a police officer, maybe. I never had any problems at school to begin with, so I didn't have any problems after that either. And people were kind of like leery of me. And there were other people who, I'd known for years who knew, that one, that I worked at the sheriff's office as a volunteer, and two, that I was still a kid, just like them. So, I wasn't blackballed or anything like that. That could have happened, but that was a cool experience as well. I did a lot of stuff within the sheriff's office. I helped with the criminal identification unit, which now is all done electronically. But back then they would take pictures of people who'd been arrested, and you take, front view, side views, take pictures of any tattoos, all kinds of stuff. And once a week I would get this huge box filled with photographs. And let's say you were a white male with blonde hair and you had a beard and mustache. And you had tattoos. So all of those things, we'd have pictures for all of those categories. So I'd have to separate them out. Then there'd be white male, blonde white male, beard, mustache, tattoo. And the tattoos would be, left arm, right arm, leg, whatever, chest, back, face, whatever it was. And then it would be categorized by what kind of tattoo. Is it a rose? Is it somebody's name? Is it a dog, or a person's face, or whatever it is? And all these things would be in different areas. And so I'd separate them all out and then have to file them. And then what would happen, a detective would come in and say, he'd hand me a picture, and he'd be like, this is our suspect. Give me 5 other people that look similar to him. So I would go in and help pull out pictures of similar looking people. And give that to them and they'd make a lineup card. So that was kind of fun. Worked with the burglary division, tracking once a month the what are they called? It was companies where you could take like musical instruments or electronics or whatever, and pawn shop. That's what it's called, pawn shop. You could buy them back or whatever. If there were, like, they would take all of the serial numbers. If you took something in to sell, they would hold on to it for, a couple of months. I think there was like a 2-month grace period where you could come back and pay the loan back. Basically, it was used as collateral. But during that period, all of the information about that item that you turned in or pawned in would be compiled and sent to the sheriff's office. And then somebody like me, it's probably done by computer now, but you'd go through and any burglary reports, let's say there was a television that had been stolen, I'd go through all of the reports for stolen televisions and see if the serial number on that pawned television matched any serial numbers that were of televisions that had been stolen. Sometimes you would find stuff, and then you track the bad guys that way. It was a lot of tedious work. Again, probably much faster now that there's computers that can do that work, but that was something else that I worked on. We would do crime prevention stuff as well, going out and talking to senior homes or high schools, middle schools, talking about locking up your bike and stuff like that. We would do engraving services where if you had something that didn't have an identification unit on it, we could, engrave a serial number, or sometimes it was somebody's social security number, which seemed pretty not good, but you'd engrave a number on it for those people. So just some sort of identification so that if something got stolen, it could be turned back in through the pawn shop, right? Or, if the police officer arrested somebody on a bicycle and they think that bicycle is stolen, they can check it and be like, oh, hey, here's the serial number that matches this report that, something stolen. So that was good. We did a lot of very interesting stuff, met a lot of really cool people. I really wanted to be a police officer, and that was one of the first steps to it. And I didn't get that opportunity. I was on a lot of lists. Reaganomics kind of took over, and the police department stopped hiring. Instead, they were laying people off. So I never made it to being an actual police officer, but I did get a taste of it when I was in high school. And now I get to write about it. So that's good. So if somebody's watching this and they know of a young person who is interested in being a police officer or firefighter or something, steer them in the direction of an Explorer unit and give them an opportunity to find out if that's really something that they want to do. So a lot of people that I went through that decided that really wasn't something that they wanted to do because of all the hardships that you see and all the craziness that happens. But